Hi guys, Asmo here and welcome to my Poisonous Concoction Pathfinder leveling guide. A lot of people have been asking how to level this character, which skills do I use while leveling, which passives, what's the order of the Ascendancy points and so on. And in this video I'm going to answer all of those questions. I'm going to give you like a blueprint for a league start scenario, how to level with this character. So let's get started with the just the leveling pattern that you have from the very beginning, which is which skills to pick up, which sockets you're going to be looking for, what to look for in the vendors and so on. So the first thing that you're going to be looking for is obviously movement speed, like with any character, and you're going to be looking for green 3-link. So a triple green 3-link is what you're looking for in the beginning. Ideally you'll find it on gloves or the helmet. That's the best in slot that you can possibly find. You can also find it in a chest or in boots, but for boots you want to be able to be replacing the boots as you're finding new boots and possibly get some increased movement speed on them. So make sure that you're prioritizing getting green on the helmet or the gloves. You can also use the chest, but chest is something that you want to avoid using until later on in the game, until like Act 2 or 3. But if you find it just on the chest, it's still fine to use that. You also are going to be looking for a shield, evasion-based shield, ideally with 3% increased movement speed. If you can find like a 3-link green or just at least 3 green sockets, that's going to be also amazing. For the rest of your sockets, you're looking for mainly green, but you're going to need 1 blue socket in Act 2, and you're going to need another blue socket in Act 3. You're also going to need 1 or 2 red sockets from Act 1. That's going to be for Vitality and War Banner, but even just 1 is going to be enough. I strongly recommend setting up a good loot filter for this. So make sure that you have a loot filter that gives you sound notification whenever you drop a 3-link with the desired colors. Also make sure that it gives you notification if you drop like a green blue or green red 3-link, because that's most likely an evasion based, and 1 chromatic might change those colors to green, and that's gonna just set you up for great and smooth leveling. Also make sure that your loot filter gives you sound notifications for like transmutes and alterations, alchemies that drop behind you, because when you're running with Caustic Arrow, a lot of the time people are going to be dying behind you. The monsters are going to die behind you. You're not going to see them on your screen, so you need a loot filter with proper sound notifications in order to not miss tons of loot that otherwise would make it so hard. Like if you don't find that loot, if you like drop, we can possibly like drop 4 links, 3 links, the right colors behind you, not know that you're dropping that, and then you're struggling with the socket colors while leveling. But if you have a proper loot filter that you set up, you're gonna be able to do it much easier. You can do it yourself. You can use Filter Blade. You can also use one of my loot filters. The loot filter that I'm using in the run that you can see is going to be on my Patreon as always, and it's going to be updated as the league goes on into more stricter versions. But leveling loot filter for this build can be found on my Patreon if you're interested in that, or just set up your own with the parameters that I described. It's not that difficult. So while leveling with this Caustic Arrow, in the beginning you want to link it with Pierce, and you want to also use Burning Arrow, and that's going to be your single target. Just drop the Caustic Arrow and then spam like 2 or 3 Burning Arrows and then repeat that, because Caustic Arrow does not stack. Then on level 4 you're going to get a Sharpnel, Ballista and Dash, so make sure to set up all of your skills on attack without moving except for Dash, because that would make you dash backwards. And then make sure you're picking up all the magic rare items. Identify whatever fits the socket color requirements that you have, which means something that has mostly green. If you find a shield, just hold on to it and make sure that you keep it for when we're swapping to Poisonous Concoction, which is going to be around level 12. So just to repeat, you're looking for a 3-link with Caustic Arrow, Pierce, and then from level 4 Mirage Archer, and then you can have your Burning Arrow separately and Sharpnel Ballista separately. When you reach Prison, you're gonna get Void Manipulation, and you link that with your Caustic Arrow instead of either Pierce or Mirage Archer, and then that, for example, Pierce can go with Burning Arrow if you still are using it, and that will help you, for example, kill Fairgraves much easier, because the Burning Arrow will pierce the SRS and allow you to hit him very cleanly. when you kill Brutus, you're gonna be able to pick up your smoke mine. And for Brutus, like Brutus is very simple. You just spam the sharpened ballistas around him, drop caustic arrow on top of him, and then do like 2 or 3 burning arrows and stack those debuffs. He's gonna die very quickly. He's not gonna hit you because you're gonna have sharpened ballistas just taunting him by the virtue of just being closer to him, because you just move away and he hits the ballistas and you're able to just free DPS him. It's super easy. So after killing Brutus, you're gonna pick up your smoke mine, and if you have a transmutation, you can also pick up Withering Step. Withering Step is gonna be used for the entire game for you. It's a very useful skill, but it already helps you when you're using the caustic arrow, because it's still also chaos damage. Once you reach level 12, you're going to be able to swap to Poisonous Concoction, and when we do that, we want to make sure that we also have a really good life flask. So at a minimum, you want to make sure that you have a large life flask, and ideally you're going to have the level 12 life flask, which is going to basically give you the maximum amount of life recovery. I happened to find a life flask that had a reduced life recovery, so you definitely don't want to use that. You don't want to use instant life flask. You want to have a slow life flask that recovers as much life total as possible, because that's what's going to buff your Poisonous Concoction damage. Poisonous Concoction is going to be linked in the beginning with Void Manipulation and with Volley support. Volley support costs just 1 scroll of wisdom, so that's super easy. You don't need that many transmutes actually as this character, because you don't need that many support gems that require you purchasing them for the transmutes. So that's actually a really good thing about leveling this character. You don't need to pick up that many items. So after swapping to Poisonous Concoction, that's going to be your main skill. You're going to be using Smoke Mine for mobility, and you're going to be using also Withering Step for extra damage, and sometimes you can use it for extra movement speed if you're just running in a straight line and you don't want to Smoke Mine, but Smoke Mine is going to be usually better. For the life flasks, if you can have 2 greater life flasks for Merveil, the fight is going to be so easy. You're going to do such insane damage. Also make sure you get some cold resistance and vitality. Vitality and War Banner really help. War Banner can be dropped at the beginning of a fight for some adrenaline if you have it stacked from the monsters beforehand, and it's going to allow you to do much more damage in a burst, and you're just going to be able to nuke the bosses very quickly. And vitality is going to allow you to sustain your life a little bit. Just make sure to keep the vitality at like level 2 or 3. Don't level vitality right away when the game is allowing you to, because you're going to be struggling with your mana later on when you need to fit other auras. So be very mindful of your vitality level. For Merveil, basically what you want to do is make sure you're just spamming the Poisonous Concoction on top of her. Just try to put your cursor, like whenever you're using Poisonous Concoction, on top of the monsters to hit them with all of the overlaps. Like you need to make sure that you're shooting like in the middle of the boss with the middle of your Poisonous Concoction, so that all of them connect, all the projectiles connect, because they shotgun, they stack, and the damage because of that is really massive. And then make sure you Withering Step on cooldown to debuff the enemy as much as possible. In Act 2, we're going to be able to do a Chamber of Sins and pick up our couple of new skill gems, which are gonna cost alterations. So make sure that you have 2 alterations. That's what you're gonna need in this act. One is going to be for Skitterbots, and one is going to be for Blood Rage. So what you want to do after Chamber of Sins is pick up your reward, which is going to be Herald of Agony, and then you also want to pick up Skitterbots as well as Blood Rage. You want to continuously run with Blood Rage through every single zone. So at the beginning of a zone, you use Blood Rage, you run through the zone while killing the monster, and if it doesn't fall off, you're just going to have a lot of attack speed and a lot of damage extra from the frenzy charges. It's very useful. And if you are unable to sustain your mana, if you're unable to fit your mana, then probably either your vitality is too high, or maybe you have just very little mana. You don't have any mana or int on gear, you don't have an amulet with int, so you maybe just need to skip one aura for now, and that could be either vitality, if you can sustain your life with just using flasks properly, or you can skip the Skitterbots for single target, or you can skip the Herald of Agony, because we don't even have 100% chance to poison yet, even with the Herald of Agony on. So that's something that you can do. In terms of the bandits, in Act 2, you want to kill all of the bandits. We don't help Alira, we don't need the res, it's super easy to craft on your gear. We don't need the mana, because we're going to be using Mana Flask all the time. That little mana regen is not going to be helpful. And we also don't need the crit, because we of course are not going to be focusing on crit, we're going to be focusing on damage over time. So kill all of the bandits, and make sure that in passive skill tree you're rushing to the onslaught. I'm going to show you later at the end the passive skill tree, how I go through the passive skill tree, but at the end of Act 2 you should probably have onslaught on kill already, and it's going to make you much faster. What else? After killing Weaver, the skill gem that you want to pick up is going to be faster attacks. The vicious projectiles is actually going to lower your DPS right now, because we are dealing not too much chaos damage over time. We're doing mainly like direct chaos damage. Direct chaos damage hits, which are not being scaled, only physical damage hits, and physical and chaos damage over time is being scaled by vicious projectiles. So you don't want to use vicious projectiles early on this build at all. You basically want to skip that and use other skill gems, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. But that's why you pick up faster attacks, and later on it's going to be a gem that is going to be very useful, because we're going to link it with shield charge, and we're going to go insanely fast. Another thing that I want to note about life flasks is that you want to have your best life flask on the left side, like on the 1, wherever the 1 hotkey normally is, and then the worst life flask somewhere on the right side. And the worst one is the one that you want to use to heal yourself. You don't want to waste your best life flask, well, unless you're going to die, but you don't want to waste your best life flask for healing yourself. You want to have it for the damage, because the skill is going to take from the leftmost flask, and it's going to be buffed based on how much life can that life flask recover. So if you have like a juicy life flask that recovers a lot of life over like a long duration, then you want to make sure it's the one on the left, so that your skill uses that. And that's basically it when it comes to Act 2. In Act 3, we're gonna get a few more skill gems. In the beginning, when we finish Crematorium, we're gonna get Despair, which is what you need the second blue socket for. And we're also going to get our Plague Bearer. In the beginning, Plague Bearer is gonna be very useless, because we're not poisoning that much. But later, once we hit the 100% chance to poison, Plague Bearer is going to be very nice, especially if you're not under-leveled, because the main damage from on your character comes from gem levels. So if you are struggling on damage for some weird reason, which you should never, but if you are struggling for damage, if you just want to do more damage, then simply level up. Like, leveling up is the best way to increase your damage, because the main skill that we're using, Poison's Concoction, scales extremely well with levels. It gets a lot of base damage, as well as the Plague Bearer, which also scales with levels a lot. After hitting level 24, you can start looking for 4 links in a vendor. You basically want 4 green sockets, or a evasion base that you can chromatic to 4 green sockets. In those green sockets, you're gonna be running what you ran before, plus you're gonna add LMP, lesser multiple projectiles. It's gonna add extra projectiles, but it's gonna keep the behavior of shooting them in a straight line, because we still are going to run with the volley support. So volley, LMP, Void Manipulation, and Poison's Concoction, that's going to be your 4 link. You're only going to need 1 green 4 link, so really be diligent, look for that in the vendors once you hit level 24. Make sure that your loot filter gives you a sound notification, take like a big loud sound when you find a 4 link early on, and that's going to be very, very helpful. From then on, Act 3 should be a breeze. Make sure to focus on your resistances. Try to buy, for example, 2 stone rings that have 16 to both resistances, and then just benchcraft an extra resistance on them. You're going to be able to cap your resistances in Act 3 or Act 4 very easily if you pay attention to that, even if you're not helping Alira. Always make sure that you're staying on top of your flasks and just progress until the beginning of Act 4. That's where I usually do the lab. And now when it comes to the lab, I'm going to show you the lab order I like to go for. So basically, what I like to do is make sure the first thing I pick up is Nature's Adrenaline. I find that I am not lacking damage, I am not lacking survivability, I am not lacking anything other than just going faster. So that's what I pick up to go faster. It makes a big difference. You end up just leveling much faster with this. So that's what I would pick first. Second, I would pick Nature's Boon. This is because of a specific strategy that I'm going to explain later, but it's also just a lot of a lot of tankiness, a lot of speed as well, because you are able to use your Quicksilver more often, as well as extra charges for single target damage for your life flask while bossing. So this is something that I would pick up second. And then third, I would pick up Nature's Reprisal for the extra AoE as well as the damage. And then fourth, Master Toxicist and Uberla. But these are basically just damage, right? And we don't lack damage early on. We don't lack AoE early on, and the clear is fantastic. So all we need is that utility and speed. Speed is what we're focusing on. So again, Nature's Adrenaline is first, and then Nature's Boon, and then Nature's Reprisal, and last Master Toxicist. That's how I use it, and it's very, very comfy and nice leveling it that way. So moving on, after the lab, you're gonna do Act 4. In Act 4, you're gonna get some extra skill gems. You're gonna get, at the end of it, greater multiple projectiles and greater volley. And you can also get the golem that gives you accuracy. This is something that you're gonna start to pay attention to a little bit as you're getting higher and higher in levels. You might wanna look at your accuracy of your main skill and try to keep it as close as you can to 100%. You don't care about the evasive monsters, just like 100% against generic monsters. So make sure to forlink the greater multiple projectiles and greater volley instead of their lesser options. And at that point, your characters should be zooming like crazy. I'm going to show you passive skill points in a bit, and you're going to see we're prioritizing movement speed a lot. We're prioritizing cooldowns for the movement skills. We just want to run as fast as possible. This character really is one of the fastest leveling characters that I have played, because it doesn't need to look for weapons. It scales like a spellcaster. You always have like a nice survivability because you're paying attention to your flasks. It's a very comfy character to level. After killing Kitava, we definitely want to do the quest from Lily, but you can wait until picking up the skill gems until you reach the Tukohama, because after Tukohama, Lily is going to be like in town and it's going to be quicker to talk to her. But from Lily, the gems that you want to look for is mainly you're looking for shield charge, and you're gonna use shield charge and link it with faster attacks. So you need an extra red and green sockets linked together. You're gonna pick up Grace to start leveling it for later on, and you're gonna pick up Deadly Ailments and Unbound Ailments to start leveling them as well, but we're not gonna be socketing them just yet. So that's what you're looking for. With shield charge, your character is going to be stupidly fast, like ridiculously fast. You're gonna have insane movement speed. You're gonna have some attack speed from the skill tree. You can sometimes have some attack speed on gear, but even if you don't have that, because you can sustain your flasks so well, because you can also get that extra attack speed from your charges from using Blood Rage, you're gonna be insanely fast, to the point where you actually might end up under leveled, but it's totally fine to end up a little bit under leveled. This is where we have all of our setup. We will not change any of the skill gems until we finish the campaign, unless you somehow find a 5 link, then you just plug in there like Unbound Ailments or Deadly Ailments, depending on the colors that you have, and you're good to go. You want to make sure that you are paying attention to the levels and just running through the zones as fast as you can. Stay like 4 levels, 5 levels below the level of the zone. It's totally fine. You're still gonna be able to zoom super quickly and just go through that second part of the story as fast as possible. Basically what I do, and this is what I recommend for a league start for everyone else who wants to have a really good league start, is something a little bit different than the conventional way of leveling. Because usually you want to finish the story, then do your lab, and then progress to maps or whatever strategy you have. But I actually recommend going through the story until you hit level 59, no longer. So I happened to hit level 59 when I got to, I think, the mines. When I got to the tunnel, that is end of Act 9. So at the end of Act 9, I'm level 59. As soon as I'm level 59 and I have a waypoint to the most recent place I've been in, I go Heist. Now, a lot of people don't like Heist. A lot of people don't want to do it, and if you don't want to do it, then just don't. It's not mandatory, but it's gonna make your league start so much better. First of all, you're going to make some currency right away. You're going to be able to do Chaos Recipe. Heist is the best place to do Chaos Recipe by far. Look up on POEDB. I'm going to actually link it in the description. You can see the rewards from Heist, and you can see which jobs actually give jewelry rewards. If you can find some jewelry rewards, you're going to find a lot of rings and amulets, which are normally the limiting bottleneck for you for how many Chaos Recipes you can do. So with those being just showered, like you're gonna be showered in jewelry, in rare jewelry that is level 60 plus, because we're reaching level 59 so that we can buy contracts that are at least level 60, and we are buying the ones that allow us to unlock all of our heroes, right, all of our heist companions, so that we can progress that, as well as the good jobs that, such as you know, the jobs that give you jewelry, lockpicking, stuff like that, right, the good ones that help you early on. You're gonna find some uniques that you're gonna be able to sell for 1 or 2 chaos. You're gonna find raw chaos, you're gonna find alchemies, you're gonna find chance orbs, you're gonna find chisels, you're gonna find alterations, transmutations. You're gonna find just tons of rare gear that is level 60 plus, that is 60 plus, that's gonna allow you to do Chaos Recipe. Do not identify any of those items. Fuck that. Just put it all in your dump tab. Make sure that you prepare tabs for doing Chaos Recipe, and make sure that you're doing it efficiently. If you're doing that, you're gonna be able to just go on trade and buy yourself for like one or two chaos. Is going to buy you items that are going to cap your resistances, give you more life, give you more evasion, give you some spell suppression. You're going to be able to buy actual decent rares early on that is going to allow you to enter maps with much better gear. It's going to allow you to do lab with much better gear. It's going to allow you to kill all of the bosses early on. It's going to allow you to progress your atlas faster, because you're always going to have alchemies. You're going to be able to chisel your early maps, like early white maps. You're going to be able to chisel them if you want, because you're going to have tons of chisels. You're going to have so much currency. Just one thing to mention, like every single time you level up, right, from level 59, at level 59, you can buy level 60 contracts. Doing these contracts, you're going to level up. You're going to hit level 60. The shop is going to reset. You're going to be able to buy level 61 contracts. Keep doing that until you're happy with, until you're happy with basically the level you're at, until you're happy with the currency. You're gonna get capped at, I think, level 67 or 69. Wherever the contracts go, they stop they stop leveling at a certain time, and that's where you wanna stop. That's where you wanna progress. Go back to the story, finish the story, just shield charge through the areas in 15 seconds. It doesn't take any time. Just don't kill the monsters. Just pop your Quicksilver, shield charge, 10-15 seconds, you're past the end of the zone. And then just finish the story, do your last lab, and make sure that you enter the maps with, you're gonna enter the maps with so much more currency, such a good gear, and you're gonna be right at the level that you would normally be, because by the nature of like shield charging early through the story and being a little bit under leveled more than normally, you're gonna have those spare levels for doing these contracts. Don't do anything silly like de-leveling your character to reset the shop. That's stupid. That's just that's not progress. That's going backwards. Don't de-level your character. That's really stupid. Just do as many contracts as you can until you reach that level 67, 68, 69 or whatever, and then go to your maps, right? That's gonna give you such a kickstart. You're gonna be able to buy, for example, the Embalmer gloves, which act as a pseudo 5 link that you can use early on, or you can just straight up buy like a corrupted 6 link, because you're gonna have the currency to set your character up properly for mapping. You're never gonna struggle with resistances, with life, or anything else. So definitely recommend doing that on League Start. If you don't want to do that, it's not mandatory. Do it like level however you want, but this is something that I will be doing, and this is something that I recommend. Now let's go over the passives in the end. This is a really important thing as well. The main thing that I want you to take from this is that this is not 100% mandatory to follow this order. You can change the order. You can change the order depending on whether you are not tanky enough, you don't have enough damage, or you're too tanky, or you have too much damage, or you want to be faster. Like, prioritize for yourself what you want. So at first you're gonna pick up these nodes just for this projectile damage and go to Primal Spirit. This is gonna give you like the mandatory strength and intelligence requirement to use certain gems that we need, and then we're gonna head through the movement speed and spell suppression. I prioritize movement speed over everything else. I have tons of damage, I have enough survivability, I don't need anything else. Like actually you don't end up dying on this character unless like something, like you die to Roas at level 2, okay, and that's basically it. Like this character is fairly tanky later on, so that's what I go for. Speed, I just straight up go here for the onslaught. This is like somewhere like where I'm around the time where I'm entering Val Ruins. I'm gonna have Graceful Assault, and that's where we're gonna have onslaught on kill. Then we head down here for this node, which is going to give you cooldown recovery for movement skills, because we're using Smoke Mine. Later on it's not important, because later on we're not gonna be even using the Smoke Mine, because we're gonna be just shield charging and smoke mining only occasionally when we need to like jump over a gap or something. But this is something super useful early on. Then you can pick up a couple of life nodes. Like this is really nice because you can just 2 points and you get like the 10% life nodes, and you can also pick up 50 life on one of them. That's like having 50 life on an item. The earlier on in the game you pick this up, the more powerful it is. After that you can go, for example, for damage and chance to poison. So if we head to here, pick up those 2 clusters, as well as use our Herald of Agony, we're going to have 100% chance to poison, so that's how we hit that very quickly. And then you prioritize whatever you need. I recommend right away picking up poisons you inflict on non-poisons enemies deal 300% increased damage. This is going to help you clear a lot, because every monster you hit is basically going to be one-tapped. Then you can pick up Freedom of Movement for phasing and 10% extra movement speed. It's super powerful. After that, what I usually do is I head up here for this life, and then Fangs of the Viper, more movement speed. I really like prioritizing movement speed while leveling, because I have enough damage, I have enough tankiness, so that's just what I do. You can pick up Entropy, Coordination, Blood Siphon after that. These are very powerful nodes. This will give you more clear speed because you are attacking faster and you are shield charging faster, so that's definitely very useful. At any point, if you need more damage, you just pick this node, or you can also pick up these poison damage over time multipliers. If you need accuracy at any point, you just pick this up. This is something that is not required early on, but later on you're gonna spec into it for some extra accuracy. And after that, you fill in your life. For example, you can fill this life. You can also grab this. And after that, you start heading toward Charisma. Charisma, once you pick up Charisma and Mana Reservation Efficiency of Skills, you're going to be able to run Grace as well, which is going to make you much tankier. After that, you can pick up, for example, these nodes that are going to give you a lot more life flask charges. This is not mandatory, but it is really helpful to have so that you can have these life flasks for also just healing yourself. You can also go for this life and here, and you can pick up Grace, increased Mana Reservation Efficiency. This is something that you can also pick up here. This is another place. Reservation efficiency for Grace can be picked up from here. Well, I picked it up from the other place, so it doesn't show up, but yeah. If I unspec that, I go here, Grace has increased reservation efficiency. This is mandatory for you to fit everything in. You could also pick up the Vitality reservation if you want to run Vitality at a higher level. This is going to allow you to have a lot regen and be super comfy. 10 life, 10% life. Life and mana on hit. This is something that also is very helpful for sustaining your life and mana. What else do we have here? You can go for this damage, and then you can link these things together either through here or through here, and you can start unspecking certain stuff that we're going to lose later on, right? So we're going to put nodes here, and then we're going to take out all of this stuff, right? This stuff is not very efficient, but it's nice early on to have. You can later swap this because we're gonna not need the chance to poison, and then after that it's just heading toward Iron Reflexes. Iron Reflexes, the life, and the Cloth and Chain, which gives you some extra elemental resistances. That is very helpful to get as well. And that's basically it. Other than that, you're gonna just simply be very close to the actual tree that you have later on when you're running your maps. That's going to be the tree that is going to be linked in the description as well. I'm going to link basically this POE, which has both of these, so I'll make sure to save that and you can check that out. And that's it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. This is a very nice character to level, very quick to level, and hopefully with this guide you're going to have an easy time and know everything that you need to do. Again, if you need a loot filter for leveling this character, you can check out in the description. There is a link to my Patreon where you can find that, as well as other loot filters that I'm gonna have for this league start. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.